What is up, guys? My name is Chad and I want to welcome you back to the Garage Rot YouTube channel. This week we are going to be doing something a little bit different. As I'm sure you know, if you have been following along with the channel, we currently have a project that is the GS1100 Cafe Racer build. Now, I'm currently waiting on some parts and stuff for that, so I've kind of pushed that over to one side of the garage here and actually taken on a side project for a gentleman. This is a 2006 Honda Rancher 350. We're having an issue with the electric start on this quad. The way the customer explained it is that he is having an issue with when he pushes the start button, you can hear the start motor turning, but it is not turning over the engine. So we are going to tear into it and see what we got. So here it is. This is the 06 Rancher 350. As you can see, it is put to well use. This gentleman says he uses it out on the farm, hauling hay around. As you can see, we got plenty of that on here still. He did tear into it a little bit, pulled the starter motor out, and then kind of stopped there. I did try to turn the key on. We got nothing, so I'm gonna assume that he's probably got the battery disconnected still. But let's take a peek real quick. Yep, he's got the positive disconnected there on the battery, so that would explain that. I was gonna say maybe I could go ahead and hook that back up just to see what it's doing, but I'm gonna venture to guess that he probably still has the power disconnected on the start motor itself too. I'm not gonna drag this along too much, guys. It was just a good way for me to still get a video at you guys in between waiting on some stuff for the Suzuki build. I'm mostly gonna be doing some time lapse. So I will stop periodically just to show you, you know, what we found. I'm gonna go ahead and tear into it here and we'll see what we got. Hit the first hurdle. Stubborn bolt doesn't want to come out. I've rounded it off, trying to get it out with the impact driver. So now I'm gonna cut it off. Alright, so I thought I'd check in with you guys. We had a few stubborn bolts. As you saw, I had to get the Sawzall out and cut a couple off. You know, this thing's a farm workhorse, so it's definitely, you know, got some rustiness and some just real dirty stuck bolts. Actually, to only have two is not that bad. I've had some of these things that I've taken apart where just every time you touch a bolt, it's either stripped out or rusted to where you can't get it off. So we're not in too bad a shape. What we are having to do is remove this rear engine cover. As you can see up here, if I go from the top view, there's the start motor. So we're gonna have to pull that off, get the recoil starter out of the way, and then we have the stator cover there. And then behind that, we've got another cover that we have to take off. And then that has the flywheel and starter clutch, which is what we're thinking is bad, is a starter clutch. In order to do that on this quad, you can see right there, this is the swing arm. So you've got the swing arm pivot here. This has the drive shaft that goes to the final drive there. Actually goes through this rear cover. So in order to get this rear cover off, we have to pull the swing arm out in order to have a clear shot to get this cover over the drive shaft and off. Now, in order to do that, that's why I removed the side steps here. Behind this plastic cover right here is the actual bolt for the swing arm pivot. So we need to pull this cover off. That just kind of snapped in there. And then we've got a special like castle style lock nut that's on there. And then it should be about a 17 millimeter Allen to back that out. And then we just have one bolt here connecting the bottom shock. And then we should be able to drop this swing arm out of the way. So let's get you back in the time lapse and we'll get this swing arm off and get to cooking. Cooking? What? Who's cooking? I'm hungry. We got the swing arm off. It's a little bit sketchy. Told you. Not everything I do may be OSHA approved. I did not have any jack stands here. I meant to bring some from the shop. Totally forgot that. But we had to make it happen. You guys are probably gonna laugh and think this is super sketchy. But I'm currently holding the quad up with a wheel. I am the one, the way you turn. Yes, I said a wheel. I know, wheels are round and they roll. And this may be a little sketchy, but it's doing the trick. See that black thing in there? That is an ATV wheel. But hey, it's doing the trick. There's actually oil coming out of the drive shaft. Kind of a little bit weird. I did not know that that was a thing. I'm letting that kind of drain some oil out for a second, and then we're gonna get this swing arm out of the way and then get this cover off. Swing arm is out of the way. I think that the oil in the drive shaft might be coming from this oil seal right there. That does not look like it's held up very well. So we're probably gonna have to replace that while we're in here. But we're gonna go ahead and get started and get this cover off and actually finally get to see what's going on inside. All right, guys, we got this rear engine cover off, and it appears to be just as we suspected. The starter clutch is definitely no bueno. Well, let's take a look. So you can see here, this gear is the reduction gear. This would be right where the starter motor would kind of go in right here, contact this gear, rotate that gear, and then that in turn would turn the flywheel and the engine over. You can see that large gear back behind there. That should have a one-way bearing in it to where that will only spin freely one direction. But as you can see, we can spin that both ways. Really all we got to do now is pull the flywheel off. I got a flywheel puller. We'll put that on there, pop that bad boy off of there. And don't have the new parts with me today. They should be in tomorrow. I just wanted to take this apart and assess the situation, make sure we didn't need anything else. Looks like we will probably want to replace that oil seal that I pointed out that goes around the drive shaft here. I definitely suspect that that was leaking, and that is what had the drive shaft full of oil, because that drive shaft should not have oil in it. Okay, let's pop this flywheel off here, eh? I get this hand tight on here and starting to tighten this portion. Crank this outer portion down a little tighter. As you saw last night, we were taking the flywheel out of there so that we could get to the starter clutch on the back side. Unfortunately, my phone died and I did not realize it right as I was popping this out of here. As you can see, the last little bit of footage we got there, I was working on putting the puller on here and getting this to come off, but then my phone died. So here we are, next day. Got all of our new parts in today at the shop. We've got our new starter clutch. We've also got a few new oil seals for the rear cover there, because we did have that one that failed that was leaking oil into the drive shaft. So I've got that seal here, as well as I just went ahead and got this little one here is for the reversed interlock switch there. Went ahead and got the oil seal for that as well. Since we're there, we might as well just replace it. And then, of course, we've got our one gasket. This is for the stator cover. This one has a gasket. The other one will just be Honda bond on there with some RTV, silicone. So we've got all of our parts. We're good to go there. Now we need to get this old starter clutch off of here so that we can get the new one on and get this thing back together so we can get it off and down the road. Let's get into it. We got the new starter clutch bolted up on the back side of the flywheel here. As you can see, there's just those 6 Allen head bolts that are holding that on to the back side of the flywheel there. And this is the starter driven gear here. So we'll show you how this was supposed to work. Obviously the old one was not working this way. That's why we replaced it. But this is meant to turn one direction, as you see there, but then not turn the other direction. It locks up that way. So that's how that's supposed to work. So we got this all good to go now. We can start reassembling everything. All right, guys, here we are. Try to get you in here good and tight where you can see what's going on a little bit here. Getting this back together. So this is the needle bearing that starter driven gear rides on. We are going to just kind of lubricate this with some engine oil since it's kind of been sitting here dry before we go reassembling this. So I just got, this is just regular engine oil that we're going to put on here, or if you've got assembly lube, it's going to do the same thing. We just want to make sure that that bearing is lubricated when we put it back together here. Didn't seem to be any damage to this bearing, so I didn't feel any need to replace that. I try not to replace unnecessary stuff. We do want to just make sure that this portion of the crankshaft here where the flywheel is going to be is cleaned off. I don't have anything on there. That's cleaned off. And put this flywheel back on there. As you can see, there is a Woodruff key on there, so we do need to make sure that that is lined up with the hole in the flywheel. We're gonna get that on there. Okay. And you can kind of rotate that a little bit back and forth just to make sure that's on there and lined up with that keyway there, which it is. Now what we're gonna do to get this all the way seated there is we're going to put the recoil pulley on there and the bolt there and tighten that bolt down. That's going to tighten the flywheel the rest of the way onto the crankshaft. And then we're just gonna tidy everything up here and put it all back together. So I'm just gonna put this back on a time lapse to show that. All right, so we've got that flywheel on there with the new starter clutch. Everything's looking great there. Now we need to get this cover prepped and ready to put back on there. In order to do that, we're just gonna go ahead and replace these 2 oil seals, like I said, and then just clean up the mating surface so that we get a good clean seal with everything there. So we're gonna go ahead and tackle that. So this is the main seal that was of concern that made me wanna do this, replace these seals. This one was definitely leaking oil into the boot where the drive shaft connects, running back through the swing arm. That's where the drive shaft penetrates the case cover there. So that one was definitely leaking. We're gonna pop that one out, replace that, as well as this small little guy here. That's just where the reverse cable hooks up to shift and reverse. Figured if we're gonna replace that one, we might as well replace this one too since we're here. Then we're just gonna clean up this mating surface for the stator cover here. And then on the other side of this one, we're gonna clean up that surface as well. This side, like I said, is just getting Honda Bond or RTV on it. This side where the stator cover is, we actually do have a gasket here for that one. So let's go ahead and knock that stuff out. Guys, we got those new oil seals in. We're all good to go there. Surface is all cleaned up here for the gaskets. That way we can be ensured that when we get to the cover put back on, we're not gonna have any oil leaks. So I'm gonna go do the same thing to the engine and then we'll get this thing back together. Guys, oh man, my hair is just out of control right now. That's quite all right. We are nearing the finish line. Just gotta put the starter motor back in. You can see we've got the rear covers back on, stator cover, the rear crankcase cover, all that's back together. Gotta throw the starter motor on, hook up some wiring. We're gonna do a test turnover, make sure everything's working as it should. Then we'll finish putting everything back together the rest of the way and fire it up. Everybody, the time has come to see if we fixed it. I don't know. You guys think I fixed it? I don't know if I did. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. Let's see though. Like I said, we got the battery hooked all back up, so let's turn the key on. Choke's on. Truck's not really wanting to stay out, so whatever. Let's make sure it turns over first. How about that? Let's just make sure it turns over first. All right, there it is. And I even heard a little spits. Look at that, guys. Guys, you know that feeling's great. After hours of working on something, you get to that point where you're ready to turn the key on and see if it makes some noise. You got your fingers crossed. You're thinking back in your head, did I dot all my I's and cross all my T's? And then you hear that sweet sound. Boom. And then you're like, yes, we got it, we did it. Now this job's not over yet. Still do have to put the whole swing arm back on. But of course, before doing all that, you want to make sure that you fix the problem. But yeah, let's put it back together. All right, y'all, I'm really trying. I'm having a hard time with this whole YouTube thing. Eventually, I'm gonna get the hang of it, guys. Problem is I did not film an outro for this video for you. I was just editing it, going through my footage and realized got no outro. So here it is. Here it is. The quad's already gone. You know, as we can see, I have a little bit more space in the garage here now. That is exciting. I've also moved some junk out of the garage, so that is also exciting. I've got a lot more room to play in here. I like that. But yeah, guys, that was a fun project. I mean, it was a good little side job for me. You know, money-wise, I love money, as you know, I think we all do. So for that reason, it was cool. But also, it was nice to, you know, fill in a project in between waiting on some parts for this one. I do, though, however, have a little box of treasures right there that I was just unboxing for this project. So we do have some parts for this. So this week I will be working back on the GS 1100. We will have a video coming back at you guys this next coming weekend. If you made it this far, I love you. You guys are cool. If not, that's totally cool too. But again, if you guys have any suggestions as far as content that you want to see, definitely shoot that down in the comments. I would love for some suggestions. I'm kind of brainstorming some other ideas myself, branching outside of just working on my project here. Definitely let me know what you guys are thinking down in the comments. As always, I love y'all. If you want, check out the merch. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next one. Rod on, later.